we transferred on March 30th, and today is April 23rd. I'm going to also pre-apologize. I'm coming at you from my bed, and I will explain why in a little bit. But with that, my pugs have joined me, and there's definitely some snoring in the background. But so, yeah, we did our transfer. Everything went really well at transfer. We transferred a 5-day blastocyst that defrosted really well and was growing really well. And again, that was on the 30th of March. And yeah, I'll just say that, okay, so I have a little bit of a collage I'll put here. So this was us at transfer. We had to get up so early. I'm sure you are all very familiar with that, to like get to the clinic at the right time because it's a bit of a drive for us. So we're tired, but we're happy. And it went well. And on the way home, though, like we've done 1, 2, this will be our 3rd transfer. I felt different, like right away. I felt like, I don't know if cramping is the word, like cramping. And like, I literally felt like the inside of me was like pinchy. Yeah, so we got home and we were instructed to do 3 days of bed rest. My one pug is snoring real loud, so I'm sorry about that. We were instructed to do 3 days of bed rest, and we were really like in a good position because my husband actually had some holiday time. So he, instead of just taking off the 3 days, he was able to take off a week. So that was just nice to be able to be together through the whole waiting, well, not the whole waiting game, but most of it. And also turned out like really fortunate for us because I was like bloating and cramping. And it, after 3 days, like they usually say to resume normal activity, I just wasn't willing to risk it. I was so uncomfortable and kind of in pain and felt a lot of pressure that I wasn't comfortable. So my 3 days of bed rest went on for basically the whole, so we waited 10 days before we did our beta. It went on the whole time. So I think I started doing pregnancy tests like the day after transfer. And I know that that sounds silly, but this is why. So our protocol included doing a HCG trigger shot. So what I was hoping to do was to continue to test out the trigger shot. And so that's how come I started testing so early. And this became interesting because the lines kept getting lighter and lighter, which I was excited about because I wanted to know whether if I did test positive, that it actually was positive. So the lines kept getting lighter and lighter. And then they started getting darker. And I did first morning for all the tests to keep them consistent. So the first one that came back darker was a little like, there was the possibility that I just like maybe hadn't drinking as much fluid or whatever. But then the next morning, darker again. So I'll put a picture here of my strips all together. And yeah, so at this point, I'm like feeling really optimistic. I think I did those strips, those cheapy strips, all the way up until 8 days post transfer. And then on 9 days post transfer, I was like, okay, I want to get like a real test because I hadn't used those before and they're cheapies. And for some reason, I didn't feel like I could trust them. But yeah, so 9 days post transfer, I took 2 like proper tests. The morning of my beta, I couldn't help it. I had the other tests, so I took it as well. And the line was a lot darker. So this time, I'm like driving to my satellite clinic to do my beta test, and it was not like a question mark in my head like last time. All I was wondering is, what are my numbers? Because they're there. So my number came back on April 9th at 139.4. So, like, I think a pretty good medium number. We were pretty happy with that. And then the anxiety begins. Our clinic does beta test 3 times to make sure that your numbers are doubling. So we did our next beta on April 11th, which is 12 days post transfer, and we were 349.7. So we had like more than doubled. And then we did our next beta because it fell on a weekend. The clinic doesn't do betas on weekends. So we did our next one on April 15th. So that was 16 days post transfer. And that one came back at 2,061. So I'm just like over the moon. These numbers are doubling like really, really well. And yeah, so the clinic at that point was going to have me come back in a week. So they continue beta testing after those 3 days on a weekly basis until we hit 5,000. Yeah. And then we had a pretty bad scare. So I kind of took a video in the moment of our little scare, so you will know what that's all about, and I'll just cut to that now. Yeah, so I would technically today be officially 5 weeks pregnant. I have been up since about 5:45 today, and just feeling literally fine. Like, I got up, I put my earbuds in, I've been listening to music, cleaning around the house, no cramping, nothing. And it is 8:20 after 8, and I just went to the bathroom and there was a good old gush of bright red blood. So, considering that we've had a miscarriage in the past, I'm pretty anxious right now. I have kind of like period cramps at the moment, and I've contacted my clinic, so interested to hear back from them. I'm sure they won't take too long. Ooh, like it just happened. I'm actually starting to get really nauseous, and these cramps are getting pretty intense, so I'm actually worried I'm having a little miscarriage here. But I don't know. Hopefully, somehow, this isn't what I think it is. But I just wanted to pause and record in the moment. Because, you know, talking about something after the fact doesn't really show you the emotions that go with it. And absolutely, like, as the second I saw that blood, I just, like, was shocked. And once I felt the cramps that were coming after, I kind of sat and cried a little bit. Yeah, this has all been within like the last like 5 minutes max. Bleeding, cramping, crying, called my clinic, sitting here sharing it with you folks. So I'll touch back, or I can't even think right now. I can't even think. I really thought this was gonna be it. But anyway, I'll let you guys know what I hear from my clinic and what ends up happening throughout the day. Ciao. Alright guys, so I had called my fertility clinic and they suggested that I go to the nearest emerge department, not necessarily because I was in any particular crisis medically, but because the emerge would be able to do a beta HCG level, and we could kind of get some information there, and also they were able to do a physical examination. So at this point it appears as though whatever that bleed was, it's done for now. Fingers crossed, hoping so. I did have a physical examination done, so the doctor checked my cervix, because that would have been a bit of an indicator. Like, she was able to check to see if it was kind of open or softening like you would have before a period, but she said it was feeling very like closed and firm. So that's good news. And unfortunately, the hospital here is not able to process. Oh, my car is jiggling the camera. I didn't realize this whole time. Sorry. The HCG results won't come in until tomorrow, but at least by tomorrow we'll have some information to work from, and we'll take it from there. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. So that was really, really scary. So you saw after the hospital that they had taken my blood, but I didn't know my number. And so, yeah, the day of the bleed, the number actually came back to me the next day. But the day of the bleed, which was 17 days post-transfer, in one day, my HCG had gone from 2,061 to 3,055. So, yeah, at this point, it was a little bit reassuring, but we didn't know why I had the bleed. It was too early to ultrasound. And so, really, it was just a matter of continuing the HCG beta, hoping that we see a continued rise and wait for that ultrasound. So, April 17th. So next day, my beta jumps now to 4,220. April 18th, my beta jumps to 5,658. So, and this whole time, I am so bloated, so crampy. I struggled to stand in the shower. Just a lot of pain. And there wasn't really an explanation for that. So you're going to see I shared my progesterone and oil injection video, and I'm honestly wearing maternity pants just because I have them, because I haven't gained any weight at all. But yeah, like if I just do up my pants, like they're snug, and with the amount of pressure I have going on, it's too risky to me, so that's why I'm wearing them. Yeah, so that was the last beta we did. And then we went into the Easter long weekend, so we did not continue to do the betas, but I don't know, I was feeling like cautiously optimistic. However, I was continuing to spot like dark, like brown blood. It was light but consistent, and so still very concerning, even though we had those numbers. Yeah. And then, so I get this great, like, betas going up, 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 all the way, April 16th, 17th, 18th, betas going up. We stopped beta testing April 19th. I went to the bathroom and I passed something. It was not bloody. It looked like possibly tissue to me. It didn't have like blood with it. Like we've miscarried before. So to just pass this sort of grayish, whitish clot was really concerning, and there was like nothing to be done about it. So we've had a lot of worry. And yeah, so that was April 19th. And so finally we got to yesterday, which was Tuesday. So the long weekend's over. And according to my fertility clinic, I would technically be, yesterday I would have been 6 weeks 1 day, but I'm not sure if that's just sort of like a standardized calculation and there might be some variation there. However, point of the story is, after all this worry, all this stress, crying, the whole thing, needles, 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 after this whole thing, I had the ultrasound. And I'm just going to post a little picture up here. Because, yes, this is share worthy. Not only, okay, I couldn't believe it. Um, Guys, there was a heartbeat. I know that that picture is not as clear as we saw like in person, but I wasn't allowed to like record in the ultrasound room. But yeah, like we had a heartbeat yesterday. So I don't know. And okay, so we had a heartbeat, and then my doctor called me the same day with like the radiologist's report. Turns out we're not 100%, but we're pretty sure that the reason I bled and I'm continuing to spot is because I had something called a, I might say this wrong, a subchorionic hemorrhage. Uh, yeah, so I'm not entirely clear, to be honest, on what that is. My understanding is that it's sort of like a pocket of blood in the uterus, but like not, it's like behind the embryonic sac. So it's not actually affecting the embryonic sac. And I don't know if this is true. Like, of course, I checked out and did some research online. Apparently, it's like more common um, with IVF pregnancies. So, either way, honestly, so the report technically said um, evidence that there was a subchorionic hemorrhage, which is kind of good because then I feel like I know why I had the bleed. I know why I um am continuing to spot, and the fact that like is as evidence that there was tells me and my GP that like it was there and it's healing uh or has healed. So I don't know. Fingers crossed things keep going well for us guys, but this is literally the farthest we have ever made it. Um like we've never made it to a heartbeat. Never. So I that makes me really excited, and then it also makes me really nervous for, so I'm doing another ultrasound in exactly a week. Um and I'm just hoping to dear goodness that heartbeat is still there. So that is kind of our update. I know it's lengthy, but I just have been so tired. Um like my brain doesn't even function correctly, and here I am. So and also so okay, this is why I'm in bed. With a subchorionic hemorrhage, it is suggested bed rest is suggested, which frankly I feel like my body was telling me that anyway, which also explains why I had so much like cramping and pressure. Like some of that is I think fairly normal in early pregnancy, but I'm telling you guys, like I said, like I was in bed and it was like I had to save myself up to be able to go have a shower. So it was pretty bad. Starting to feel a little bit better now, and I hope that that continues. Still like a little bit of spotting, but it does make sense since that hemorrhage would be healing. So that's our update, guys. So I just thank everyone who's like watching and following along. And I know we've got a long way to go still. And we're definitely not in the safety zone by any means. But I do hope that this is encouraging to somebody out there who is doing assisted reproduction, IVF, all of it. It's a lot to take in. And I was that girl. Like after our last failed transfer, I was in the process of like shifting my mind. Like, you know what? Our priority and our like design for life as a couple may not be one of family. And I was already coming to a point of accepting and having this conversation with my husband. Like, if it's not children, we will make something else become our priority. Like, we have, like we were going there. We really were thinking that this wasn't going to happen. So that's why I just want to share this with you. Hopefully, this works out for us. And if you're struggling and if you're at that point, like this, I don't feel like this is going to happen for us. This isn't, we had a heartbeat. We've been there and we currently, have rising HCG and a heartbeat. So hope things continue well, but I also hope this inspires you folks out there. And I will definitely check in after the next ultrasound. Thanks so much, guys.